The town hadn't changed. The same quiet streets stretched beneath fatting afternoon light, the same sorry store still stood at the corner where children once gathered for ice candy, and the same air, warm, familiar, almost suffocating, wrapped itself around Adrian raised the moment he stepped out of the car. He adjusted his watch, expression unreadable. "Anak, you're finally back," his mother said, her voice soft with relief. Adrian only nodded. Coming home after graduating college was supposed to feel like a return. Instead, it felt like stepping into a life he had already outgrown, or perhaps one he had been trying to forget. Across the street, someone had been waiting. Lucas Herrera leaned against the gate, his fingers gripping the metal bars a little tighter than necessary. He had been there long before the car arrived, long before Adrian even turned the corner. And when he finally saw him, Adrian. The name escaped him too quickly, too brightly. He stepped forward, a smile already forming, the kind that came from years of familiarity, from memories that never really left. But Adrian only glanced at him, just a glance. "Hey," Adrian said flatly, no smile, no warmth, no recognition of the years they had spent side by side. Luca's step slowed. For a brief second something flickered across his face, confusion, maybe hurt, but he swallowed it down quickly. "You're back," Lucas said, softer this time. "Yeah." Silence stretched between them. It felt wrong, because once upon a time silence between them was never empty, it was comfortable, easy, filled with understanding. Now it felt like standing on opposite sides of something broken. Their families, however, acted as if nothing had changed. That night over dinner, laughter filled the room. Stories were exchanged, plates were passed around, and their mothers spoke as if Adrian and Lucas were still inseparable. "Lucas, why don't you stay with Adrian for a while?" Adrian's mother suggested casually. "He'll be alone in the townhouse most days." Lucas blinked. I will compensate you, of course," she added quickly. "Just keep him company, make sure he eats properly." Adrian didn't react, didn't object, didn't even look at Lucas. Lucas hesitated. There were 100 reasons to say no: the awkwardness, the distance, the way Adrian barely looked at him now like he used to. But there was also something else, something stubborn, something that hadn't changed even after all these years. "Okay," Lucas said finally. The townhouse felt too quiet. It was modern, clean, and impersonal, nothing like the warm chaos of their childhood homes. Adrian moved through it like he belonged there, but also like he didn't care about anything inside it. Lucas noticed everything: the unopened groceries, the untouched couch, the bedroom door that stayed closed longer than it should. "You should eat," Lucas said one evening, standing by the kitchen counter. "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten all day," Adrian sighed, clearly irritated. "I said I'm not hungry." Lucas paused. Old Lucas would have backed off immediately, but that was before. "You'll get sick," he said gently. "I said I'm fine." The sharpness in Adrian's voice cut through the room. Lucas flinched slightly but didn't leave. Instead, he quietly prepared food anyway, placed it on the table, and waited. Days passed like that. Lucas tried, God, he tried. He talked about random things, about people from their hometown, about memories that once made them laugh. Sometimes Adrian responded with short answers. Most of the time he didn't. Still Lucas stayed. Still he tried, because despite everything he could see it. In the way Adrian avoided people. In the way he stayed in his room for hours. In the way he stared at nothing when he thought no one was looking. This wasn't just indifference, it was something heavier, something Adrian refused to let anyone see. "Why are you like this?" The question slipped out one night before Lucas could stop himself. Adrian looked up from his drink, eyes narrowing. "Like what?" "Like you don't care about anything," Lucas said, voice quieter now. "You weren't like this before." Adrian let out a humorless laugh. "People change. That's not just change. That's not your business." Lucas swallowed. It stung more than he expected. "But still, I'm just worried about you." "Then don't be." The words came out colder than the night air. And just like that, the distance between them felt even wider. But Lucas stayed anyway, even when Adrian ignored him, even when Adrian snapped at him, even when every attempt to bridge the gap seemed to fail, because somewhere beneath all that coldness, Lucas still believed the boy he once knew was still there. He just didn't know how to reach him anymore. Living together became a quiet routine neither of them acknowledged. Lucas woke up early. Adrian didn't. Lucas cooked. Adrian sometimes ate only when he thought Lucas wasn't paying attention. Lucas filled the silence. Adrian let it stay. And yet somewhere between those small, ordinary moments something began to shift. It started with the little things. Adrian noticing that Lucas always left the light on in the hallway at night. Lucas realizing Adrian drank less when someone sat beside him. Adrian waiting just slightly longer than necessary when Lucas stepped out. Lucas memorizing the sound of Adrian's footsteps. None of it was spoken, but it was there, growing quietly in the spaces they pretended not to see. "Stop doing that," Lucas blinked. "Doing what?" Adrian frowned, arms crossed. "Acting like we're still close." The words landed heavier than intended. Lucas forced a small laugh. "We are close, or we were." "Not anymore." Silence. Lucas nodded slowly, though something in his chest tight. "Got it," he said softly, but the next morning he still made breakfast, still knocked on Adrian's door, still stayed. Then came the night everything cracked. Lucas hadn't planned to go. But his friends insisted, old classmates, familiar faces, a rare break from the tension that had become his daily life. Come on, it's just one night, they said, so he went. And for once, Lucas let himself forget. Music filled the air, laughter echoed around him, and drinks kept appearing in his hand faster than he could refuse them. It felt easy, too easy, and then, Lucas, he turned, his breath hitched. Clara, his ex-girlfriend, smiled at him just like she used to, warm, familiar, dangerous. You look good, she said, so do you. One drink turned into two turned into too many, and somewhere between the noise and the haze, Lucas stopped thinking. He woke up late, head pounding. Phone buzzing endlessly beside him. Adrian, Adrian. Adrian. Lucas shot up. Shit, by the time he got back, the townhouse felt different, too quiet, too still. Adrian was already in the living room, waiting. You're late, Lucas froze. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear my alarm. You didn't wake me up. Lucas blinked. What, you were supposed to wake me up, Adrian said, voice tight. I told you I had to meet my friends today. I know, I just last night you what? Lucas hesitated, and that hesitation was enough. Adrian's eyes darkened. Where were you? At a party. A party? Yeah, with who? Lucas exhaled slowly. Friends. Adrian stepped closer. Which friends? Lucas frowned. Why does that matter? Answer me. Something in Adrian's tone made Lucas stiffen. Clara was there, he admitted. The air shifted. Clara, Adrian repeated almost too quietly. Lucas ran a hand through his hair. Look, it wasn't a big deal, we just talked and what? Lucas hesitated again. I stayed over. Silence, heavy, suffocating. Adrian laughed. But there was no humor in it. Of course you did. Lucas frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Adrian said sharply. It's just typical. Typical, Lucas echoed, irritation rising. What's that supposed to mean? It means you do whatever you want, Adrian snapped. You go out, get drunk, sleep around. I do sleep around, Lucas cut in, his voice rising. And even if I did, that's none of your business. Adrian's jaw tight. You had one job, he said coldly. One, yeah, to babysit you, right? Lucas shot back. To make sure you eat, wake up, function like a normal person. I never asked for that. No, your parents did, Lucas snapped. And I agreed because I thought. He stopped himself. Adrian narrowed his eyes. You thought what? Lucas clenched his fists. I thought you needed someone. The words hung in the air. Adrian's expression shifted, but only for a second, then it hardened again. I don't need you, that did it. Then stop acting like you do, Lucas shouted. You push everyone away, you don't eat, you lock yourself in your room, and somehow I'm the problem because I went out for one night. You didn't just go out, Adrian snapped back. He stopped. Lucas stared at him. I what? Adrian looked away, and for the first time he didn't have an answer, because the truth was he didn't understand his own anger. Was it really about being late, about missing a meeting, or was it something else entirely, something he didn't want to name? Lucas shook his head, frustration boiling over. This is insane, he muttered. You're overreacting. Get out. Lucas froze. What? Get out, Adrian repeated, voice low but firm. If you're just going to mess things up, then don't stay here. Something inside Lucas cracked. Fine. He didn't argue, didn't fight, didn't stay, and just like that they stopped talking. Days turned into weeks. The townhouse grew quiet again, but this time it wasn't just silence, it was absence. And Adrian went back to the habits he thought he had already buried. Locked doors, skipped meals, empty bottles piling up beside his bed. Somewhere else Lucas tried to move on, tried to ignore the lingering weight in his chest. Tried to convince himself it didn't matter, but no matter how hard he tried, something about Adrian stayed. Until one day, Lucas, his mother called from the kitchen, concern evident in her voice. Have you heard about Adrian? Lucas looked up. What about him? He's not doing well, she said quietly. His mom told me he hasn't been eating again, barely leaves his room. Lucas felt his chest tight. And he's been drinking a lot. Silence, heavy, familiar, unavoidable. Lucas closed his eyes, exhaled slowly, and before he could stop himself, I'll go see him. Because no matter how things ended, he still cared. The townhouse looked the same, but it felt heavier. Lucas stood outside the door longer than he expected, his hand hovering just inches away from knocking. He had imagined this moment so many times, what he would say, how Adrian would react, whether he would even be welcomed back. In the end, he knocked anyway, no response. Lucas frowned. He knocked again, louder this time. Adrian, still nothing. A familiar sense of unease crept in. I'm coming in. The door wasn't locked. The smell hit him first, stale air, alcohol, something faintly bitter that lingered too long in closed spaces. Lucas stepped inside slowly. Adrian, he found him in the bedroom. Curtains drawn, lights off, bottles scattered on the floor, and Adrian lying on the bed, eyes half open, barely moving. Something in Lucas' chest twisted painfully. You look terrible, he said softly. Adrian let out a dry laugh. Didn't know you still cared. Lucas ignored that. Instead, he walked over, quietly picking up empty bottles and setting them aside. You haven't been eating. Not hungry. Yeah, Lucas muttered. I've heard that before. Silence settled between them again, but this time it wasn't sharp. It wasn't distant, it felt fragile. Why are you here? Adrian's voice was quieter now. Lucas paused. There were so many answers he could give. Because your mom asked me. Because I felt guilty. Because I had nothing better to do, but none of them felt right. Because I wanted to check on you, he said instead. Adrian looked at him then, really looked at him. And for the first time since Lucas returned, there was no wall in his eyes, just exhaustion and something deeper, something unguarded. You shouldn't be here, Adrian said softly. Lucas frowned. Why not? Because I'm not good for you, Lucas let out a quiet breath. Since when did you get to decide that for me? Adrian didn't answer. That night felt different, quieter, slower. Lucas stayed, not because he was asked, but because he chose to. He cleaned up what he could, cooked something simple, sat beside Adrian when he didn't eat much anyway, and when the silence came, he didn't try to fill it. It was sometime later, with the room dim and the world outside long asleep, that Adrian finally spoke again. I thought about it. Lucas glanced at him. About what? Adrian stared at the bottle in his hand. Why I got so angry. Lucas didn't respond, didn't interrupt, just waited. I told myself it was because you didn't wake me up, Adrian continued, voice uneven, that you messed things up. He let out a hollow laugh. But that wasn't it. Lucas' chest tight. Then what was it? Adrian was quiet for a long time, long enough that Lucas thought he wouldn't answer. But then, it bothered me, Adrian said slowly, that you were with someone else. Lucas froze. That you were laughing with them, drinking with them, that you, he swallowed, stayed with her. The room felt smaller, closer. He's drunk, Lucas thought at first. But Adrian's voice, it wasn't careless, it wasn't scattered, it was too steady, too honest. I didn't understand it, Adrian admitted. I tried not to think about it. He laughed softly, shaking his head. I told myself it was stupid, that it didn't make sense, that it was right. Lucas didn't move, didn't breathe. But it didn't go away, Adrian said, his fingers tightened around the bottle. It just got worse, silence, heavy, real. Adrian finally looked at him. And this time there was no hiding. I think, he started, voice barely above a whisper, I like you. Lucas' heart pounded too loud, too fast. This is the alcohol, he told himself. It has to be. You're drunk, Lucas said carefully. Adrian shook his head. I thought so too. His voice was quieter now. I thought if I ignored it, if I distracted myself, it would disappear. A small, bitter smile. It didn't. Lucas didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. So instead he stayed quiet. Let Adrian speak. I don't even know when it started, Adrian admitted. Maybe when I came back, maybe before that. His gaze softened just slightly. I just know it feels different with you. Lucas swallowed hard. Say something, Adrian murmured. Lucas looked at him, at the vulnerability he had never seen before, at the walls finally breaking down, and for a moment he almost told the truth. But instead, you should get some rest, Lucas said gently. Not a rejection, not an answer. Just something safe. Adrian studied him for a moment, then exhaled quietly. Stay. Lucas hesitated. Just for tonight, Adrian added. I don't want to be alone, and Lucas, despite everything, nodded. Okay. They lay on the same bed, not touching but closer than they had ever been in years, and for the first time the distance between them felt gone. Morning came quietly, soft light slipping through the curtains. Adrian stirred. Reached out but found nothing. He sat up. The room was different, cleaner, brighter, quieter. Lucas? No answer. He stepped out of the room, followed the faint sound of movement, and found him in the kitchen. Lucas stood by the stove, focused, as if nothing had changed, as if last night had never happened. Adrian walked closer, slow, careful, and then without warning he wrapped his arms around Lucas from behind. Lucas stiffened. Adrian, you stayed, Adrian murmured. His voice was low, warm against Lucas' shoulder. Lucas exhaled. Yeah. For a moment neither of them moved. You believe me, right? Adrian asked quietly. Lucas hesitated. About what you said, Adrian tightened his hold slightly. I meant it. Lucas looked down at the hands around him, at the closeness he had once tried so hard to ignore. You're not the only one who thinks too much, Lucas said softly. Adrian stilled. What do you mean? Lucas let out a small laugh, nervous, honest. You're just slower at figuring things out. Adrian frowned slightly. Lucas turned to face him, heart racing, no more hiding. I liked you first. Silence, then Adrian blinked. What? Lucas scratched the back of his neck, suddenly shy. A long time ago. Realization slowly dawned on Adrian's face. The way you look at me, the things you do, Adrian murmured. Lucas groaned lightly. Don't make me regret saying it. A small smile appeared on Adrian's lips, soft, real, the first genuine one in a long time. So, Adrian said, voice quieter now. What happens now? Lucas met his gaze. No hesitation this time. We try, and this time when Adrian stepped closer, Lucas didn't step back. The space between what they were and what they could be finally disappeared.